Okay. Okay. I would say as people are coming in, we can still get started. Julie, what do you think?
Just give me a moment. Just need to settle something. Trying to get my screen. Not this, not that. Here. Okay.
You okay?
Yes.
Okay. Shall we?
Sure.
Good morning. Good morning to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are calling from. We're happy to host this webinar on understanding needs and boundaries. The title is for leaders, but this is really for anyone struggling with setting boundaries. So setting boundaries is something that is so common and that we keep seeing so much in our one-on-ones and in our group sessions that we keep doing. And this is the second time that we run the exact same webinar because it is a topic that just keeps coming back. So, and is a popular one. And so we figured might as well just give the tools to more people. And so this is really to provide value and to give you some sort of a framework and somewhere to get started because it's so hard to just this first step to get started on setting boundaries. And so we want to provide some sort of guidance today. And so we're calling from beautiful Vancouver today. We called it Vancouver, but Vancouver, it is very gray. And Julie is joining us from Montreal. And
Yes, and don't hesitate to tell us where you're joining from. And, it's always nice to have some interaction in the webinar. So, it makes it more interactive, obviously.
that's right. Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Okay,
Great.
so shall we get started? Let's just dive in.
Yeah.
We have a lot of
Yes.
content and we want to yeah, go through it, but also make it as interactive as possible. So feel free to interrupt, ask questions, ch put in the chat, but we also have some Slido is a tool that we use to make it more interactive. So you'll see some exercises as we go. So we want to kind of hear from you, what you're thinking, where are you struggling with boundaries, what makes you join us today, and then that
Mm-hmm.
also helps us kind of guide the content as we go if we understand what you're looking for. So maybe we start with the premise of what we believe in at Grow Better Together and what Julie and I, have as a basis for this webinar is the fact that if we fail to recognize and address the personal needs, that leads to poor boundaries. So needs and boundaries really go hand in hand together. And then that leads to burnout. A lot of the work we do is to prevent burnout, actually. And so it's so much harder to come back after you've hit the wall than prevent from hitting the wall. So we're really hoping to provide some tools for you to not just avoid the wall and just go back and a reel back. Um, and what happens with poor boundaries is it actually decreases productivity. I know you feel like you're doing more and you should be more productive, but
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely counterproductive. And you can strain relationships because you get frustrated. People get frustrated if there are none said. There's resentment when you have poor boundaries. And then we're at a stage where there's just so much happening in the workplace. So it's really critical to just adopt the strategies to setting and maintaining firm boundaries.
Totally, totally. It's one of our favorite things
One of
to
my favorite
discuss.
topics. Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
It's a
as
popular
we
one.
go, exactly, as we discuss a lot with, with the leaders that we work with. So let's just start by introducing ourselves. So my name is Julie Cardinal. I'm from Montreal, Canada. So I've been in a leader for about 25 years, and I've transitioned into a coaching, which is something that is really dear to my heart. So I am a certified transformation leadership coach, and I also help leaders and people to really explore the unconscious behaviors, and also learn about their defensive matrix, because we all have, different ones depending on the each different people. And I also provide leaders with the tool to respond instead of react, which is great when you're in the leadership role, because it helps you become the best version of yourself, and a version that will inspire, empower, engage, and really create a safe environment for everyone to thrive, and most important, especially you. And Jen and I have known each other because we worked in at the same place maybe like 10 years ago, Jen.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
we
it's been
both,
over 10 years
yeah,
now.
and exactly. And we both went on the coaching side of things. So I'll let her introduce herself.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, my name is Geneviève Retzlaff. I go by Jen. I am based in Vancouver, but lived in Europe for a while. So I built Grow Better Together back when I was in Europe. And I got certified as a transformational coach, which means that it's really to explore the values and behaviors and the belief systems that inform your behaviors and how you react to things. And we, providing tools to respond and just be more intentional about your direction, either in leadership, in life, in your career, all of that. And I am also a certified team performance coach, sorry. And my background is in HR, and now I focus really in organizational development. So just the strategy, like just building a strategy, but always keeping the human-centric approach to everything I do. So just really
Mm-hmm.
transforming the workplaces to move into the new era of productivity, really. So that's us. And then the reason what I was saying at the very beginning is that we've helped a number of clients, actually, like many, many clients, set boundaries for themselves. And this is a little bit what the outcome of that work was. So just for you to sort of have a foundation as to why setting boundaries, and so we've helped Kyla as an example. So her the work we've done together was helpful for her to create a script, and for her it was that doesn't work for me, and then she was able to integrate that script into her work as a medical clinic owner, but also in her personal life with her spouse and child and all of this. So boundaries was kind of have a 360 effect in her life. And Cami was somebody who obviously when you start setting boundaries, you want to say no, but you don't want to kind of drop the work. So for Cami, it was like, can't just drop it because nobody's going to do it. But then it was having like the right team members in place and having an intentional delegation process so the work is channeled to the right place. So I'm going to say no to that. And then this is what's going to happen with the work. Like it is, it kind of goes hand in hand. I always say like boundary delegation, they really go together.
Yes, it's a beautiful jewel.
Right.
So I had the chance to coach Julie, who was an executive producer. She had some issues with relationship with her team. She had a hard time, getting some of the people. So when we went over boundaries and needs, it helps her realize that she was not maintaining her boundaries, and therefore people tend to I would say exaggerate or go over her boundaries. And when she started putting that into her leadership, the relationship totally changed, the dynamic totally changed. And also, it was not only in her work, but also in her personal life. Same thing as Joanie. It really helped her change her relationship in her work, but as a coach with her clients, but also in her personal relationship. So this is like the stepping stone of not only leadership, I would say, but like all of our personal, all of our relationship in our lives.
Okay, so now let's just like see where you're at with this. So uh, you know, just there will be a let us know in the chat. Sorry, let us know in the chat if any of these resonates. And this is the reason, if you recognize yourself in these following statements, then just let us know, and it means you're at the right place. So, have you kind of lost track of who you are at your core, like your true self? Like, do you find yourself having a push and pull feeling internally?
And do you feel that you're running after your tail all the time? Sorry, because you have too much to do and you're trying to, grab here and there to get through your day.
Do you find yourself avoiding conflict or sometimes just creating conflict?
Feel misunderstood because not voicing your needs or boundaries, like people don't really understand where you're coming from.
Do you sometimes feel anxious about going to work? That was a big one for me. I had zero boundaries, was taking always extra work, and I had this massive pit in my tummy every time I had to go to work. That was pretty painful, and that was a big one for me.
Mm, agreed. And it for me was connected with the overwhelm by workload.
Right. Yeah, yeah, they kind of go together, right?
Yes, yes,
Overwhelm create anxiety sometimes.
yes.
And if overtime, that was also me, overtime is part of your work week and your weekends when you think this just that's just how it is, that's just normal life, and that's just like this until I retire. If this is the mindset you're
Exactly.
in.
Mm. And of course, having a hard time to say no,
Mm,
thinking that you cannot say no to your boss or your client, which is not really true,
right. Yeah. Yeah. There are ways
right?
to make this
Oh,
work.
yes. And also, I think one of the most important thing that I always convey with the people I work with is that clarity creates safety. Because the clearer you are with your needs and boundaries, the safer people will feel around you. Why? Because it creates that space of safety. If, as a leader, you're able to voice your needs and boundary, it will help your team. It will help them to do the same, as they will say, okay, that's in that kind of environments that we are. And I know that sometimes it can feel vulnerable before doing that. But once you start doing this, you see it's like a ripple effect. So, oh, okay, so I'm voicing this. And then the people, once that you start doing that, the clarity is there and people know what to expect from you and what you expect from them. And that creates that amazing open space for communication. Um, it's really the roots and foundation, I feel, of a conscious and really empowering leadership, because honoring yourself, your boundaries, your needs, and your team, it really creates that safe environment that everybody, can thrive in, can feel empowered, can be authentic, and it all also creates commitment from the team that you're working with.
Right. Yeah. So let's talk about needs for a second. So what are the fundamental needs? And this is the really from childhood. This is the human behavior naturally will revolve around where do I feel loved and protected? And by
Mm-hmm.
protected is security. Where do I feel loved and safe? And so you kind of mold your behavior based on where you find that love and safety. And so that's the two bigger one. The other one is being heard. We all want to be heard. And so sometimes you again like your behavior will change and you might react instead of responding when you feel you're not heard, and that's another need that needs to be honored. um, you want to be recognized by others. That's also, I mean, if you read all of the data, all the studies around what makes employee engagement high is when they are being recognized. Most people will choose recognition over higher salary. So that's kind of a big one. Um, affirmation. You want some sense of affirmation in either your beliefs or your values, or you want to be able to affirm yourself also in your opinion, simply. Freedom is a big need, and creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And I know creativity sounds like, oh, I'm not a creative person. That doesn't matter, really. Like creativity is a foundational need for every human living being. It is very important that you find some sort of an outlet. And also that's in the one-on-one sessions that I have, it's often, between sessions, it's always some assignments. And a lot of the time is those people who have lived so far away from creativity for a long time. It will stamp themselves as being not creative, but I would really
Mm-hmm.
challenge that. And I sometimes make me kind of force the clients to just do something creative on the weekend, just see how you feel, and then
Mm-hmm.
always something great comes out of that. So definitely encourage you to look into that.
Totally. And it can be so like simple, right?
Yeah.
Right. I just want, Marisol is saying, voicing in my business is often not heard. You tell them, but they do not truly hear repeatedly. I'm a point when I'm tired and consider the situation toxic. Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
I,
that's it.
that, we hear you
Yeah, we hear you. We
totally.
were there too. There's a way out, Madison. We promise.
Yes.
And we have a
And
framework
also,
coming up, maybe that will help you in a couple
yes,
minutes. So yeah, stay tuned.
yes. Thank you for sharing that, Marisa.
Yeah.
That's very helpful. And personal needs, like what are they? It's either spend time in nature, doing some exercise, spending time by yourself, meditating, traveling and experiencing new things, spending your time with your family, learn new things, whatever you feel like you need to be on the water. These are so important. And I think we have a little survey for you guys,
Yeah,
right?
just if you
To,
can just let us know which one of those needs resonate most with you. So this is the first slide though. If you're not familiar, you can just scan the barcode there with your phone, and then it will take you to the poll. So there's no need to download anything. You just scan the barcode and then just start answering. And maybe none of those resonate with you. Maybe you have another thing. You can put it in the chat. But yeah, we'd just like to see what works for you. I know myself, meditation is a big one. Spend time in nature for sure. Um, Exercise, although I'm not I'm not following through much these days, but something I need to work on myself.
yeah,
Yeah,
we have to be committed because
I
there's so many
know.
things that
It's
come
so
in the
dark
way.
outside and rainy and
I know, I know.
right. Okay, do we have more? We see spend time in nature. Seems like a good one. Anything else? Exercise,
Exercise.
solitude, yeah, travel, experience, yeah, travel. Ugh, my favorite.
I know.
Oh, we
I
love
know.
travel. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Okay, thank you for participating. Okay, I'm gonna
Yes,
move
yes.
on to the next
That
slide to
was
honor the
fun.
time. Oh, more
Yes.
answers.
Or
Okay.
another spending time.
Okay,
So
we're
nature is a big
yeah,
help. It
yeah,
really helps you anchor.
for sure.
So yeah.
Okay. So
So
moving on.
yeah. Yeah,
Okay, go
sorry.
ahead, Shani. Busy, busy.
So honoring your need is also self-compassion. And that's so important to realize um, because, you know, having self-compassion and honoring your needs is is gaining when you do that, you're gaining more self-esteem because you're honoring what you really need. I'm going to give you a practical example in leadership. Um, let's say you need to create breathing space in your schedule because you booked like all day long, you do too much overtime. So, how would that need? What is the action that you could combine with this need? Is would be to delegate, right? To delegate to others so you can clear your agenda. And sometimes high performing people have a hard time to delegate. They want to keep things to themselves. They don't want to burden their staff too much, or they feel that it has to be perfect, or there's always kinds of reason to do that. But when you think about it, if you keep the work to yourself, you're adding stress, pressure. You have less energy, you're less productive because you have way too much to do. So, in this example, it's a win win because it gives you the opportunity to clear, if you delegate, to clear your agenda and then to focus on things that permits you to have a eagle eye view instead of a macro when you're too in the day to day things that you don't see what's in front of you. And also it allows your team to learn new things and it empowers them to grow. And if you feel like you're a little nervous, there's always, you can have the boundaries to communicate clear and precise objective for your team. So clarity creates safety, so they know what you expect from them, and you can work with that as you go along. So this is like just an example, but really honoring your need is really self-compassion and boundaries.
Yeah, I just want to offer another example because sometimes you were
Mm-hmm.
talking about high performers, right? That they have a hard time because they say, oh, it's going to be faster if I just take care of it and it's going to be done exactly how I want it. That's a big one. But there's also some people I coach were saying, I cannot possibly add on to my team's workload. So they added
Mm-hmm.
on theirs. And so there is some
Mm-hmm.
sort of a work in not only a process, finding a system that will kind of even the workload out. So this is something you need to think as a leader as well, but also have it like, have you talked to your team, And when I ask that to my client, do you know that they're overloaded and do you know that they wouldn't want to add this extra load? Because sometimes they want to have the different responsibilities. So they'd rather have a higher workload to learn something new and going back to a specific need, So just it's just something for you to think about if you're worried about adding more workload to an already overloaded team. Well, maybe you can change their
Mm-hmm.
responsibility, and that's more motivating for them, and that offloads off your desk. So some ideas there.
Yeah, totally. I love that.
So let's talk about why is it so hard to set boundaries? Why do we struggle and why are you here, right? Because there's something happening that makes it so hard and makes us nervous. And there's also, it could be a psychological safety. It could be about, habits that you have of just being able to take on more work, could be anything. But what we find out is why it's so hard is sometimes you're just not aware. And you're not aware of when people are crossing your boundaries. So it's hard to respond in the appropriate way if you're not recognizing what's happening. You might fear a conflict. Or what happens if I say no? If I set that boundary, I might rub that person in the wrong way. And then there's some guilt associated to that, or like the example of that leader I was coaching that said like, oh, I cannot add more workload on somebody else. So like I'd rather do it myself. Cultural and societal norms. That could be like also organizational culture. Like in your culture,
Mm.
you just can't say no. So it's not just, country wise or a culture. There is that definitely like people that,
Mm-hmm.
are working in India or working from a North American perspective, working with Indians. Like, how does that work?
Mm-hmm.
How do you
Mm-hmm.
create some sort of boundaries because they tend to work longer hours, these kind of things, right? Um,
Yeah.
Lack of confidence in skills usually makes you feel like you have to give more, like you have to provide more work performance. And then I kind of goes sometimes, not always, but hand in hand with imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome, there's something to be said about that because there's 82% of people experience imposter syndrome. Like, so it's not a diagnosis, right? It's just a thing that people feel when they feel like they're a fraud. And some people are going to find them out if they don't provide additional work. And so that when you have that, first of all, if there's 82% of people that are feeling or experiencing imposter syndrome, chances are, if you're sitting at a table in a meeting, most people are exactly experiencing the same as you. So just, so you can kind of relax a little bit how you're feeling about that. But
It's
just
crazy.
just knowing that if you're experiencing imposter syndrome, you are likely to have a problem with boundary. And so we want you to be able to, first of all, bring that to your awareness. And also in a second, we'll present you some ways to kind of counter that.
Hmm.
Some why is it so hard? It could be past experiences, or in the coaching world, we call them limiting stories. So something happened in the past that was not positive after you set a boundary, and then you kind of hold that as in like, well, saying no doesn't really work for me. But
Hmm.
I want to challenge that belief for you. And
Hmm.
the perceived power dynamics, right? So it's, oh, I can't say no. It's my boss. He asked me to do that myself, And so like finding ways to have that dialogue is possible, but we often don't see it as possible.
Yeah, that's why it's so important to start honoring all of these because it gives you more self-esteem and confidence. So, yeah, why would it benefit you as a leader to have firmer boundaries? It increased productivity because you spend way less time in your head trying to see all the things that you do because you have started to delegate. So you can really increase your productivity and also the team because they feel empowered as well. It improves team dynamic because there's clear expectation, and it creates healthy dynamics because they feel safe. Reduce risk of burnout because you are able to say this not working for me. I cannot do all of this overtime. And you respect, you put your foot down and make it work. More respect because people with firmer boundaries model respect for themselves, and also it helps cultivating respect within your team, and they will start also honoring their needs and boundaries. So it's good for everybody. Better decision making because you have a more mental capacity, you're less stressed, you sleep better, you're not overloaded with demands, and the priorities are clearer because boundaries help prioritize for yourself and your team what is really important. So all of these are the benefits. Now, how do we do that?
Haha. The whole point of
Aha.
being here, I guess, this is the tips we have for you. And so Julie and I, based on our one-on-ones, our coaching assignments and speaking about boundaries, so like a huge percentage of our time in coaching, we talk about boundaries. And so we came up with this framework that we call track to to be able to memorize it because it's a framework that we would like you to start trying and see how you go. And you can even start with step one and practice that for the next 6 months, and you'll already gain a lot. So, I know it's hard, but just take it one step at a time. And so I want to walk you through that framework quickly. Not quickly, but let's take a minute to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So the track T is for trigger. So this is a physical sign. Where do you feel that boundary being crossed inside your body? And that's something that you might not even realize it, but it is happening. So your body is always sending you messages. So we would like for you to start noticing what those messages are. I can tell you when somebody crosses my boundary at work, I used to feel this rush of heat, like from my tummy through my up to my throat. So I knew like, ugh, like my whole body says no to this, but I'm going to say yes. And so there's like something happening. We want you to be able to recognize that boundary coming up and then also holding that boundary. But there's a step by step before we get to keep the boundary. So recognizing the trigger. Sometimes in my personal life, I will feel like a big kind of bump down on my back. Then that means like something's just not feeling right. So just listen to that trigger
Yeah.
and notice the physical sign. The R
And
is for
your
mm,
sorry,
good.
sorry, go ahead.
No,
Your
no,
your
good.
body is an amazing, is like it talks to you all the time. So it's a compass for you. And when you're starting to realize that all of these physical signs, that's the first thing that you're going to notice. Just going to give an example for myself. I realize that it depends on the emotion that comes. It's not at the same place on my body. For me, it's my solar plexus. And when someone is like really a big boundary and I feel anger, and it's on my forehead here. So anything behind your neck, I mean, these are signs your body's saying, hey, someone is crossing
Yeah.
your boundaries,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. So if there's anything that comes out of this webinar for you is recognize the physical sign. So, and then what do you do? So you recognize it, then what? So there's kind of it's too far to jump from recognizing it to holding the boundary. So we have some sort of middle steps for you. So that regulate, which means regulate that feeling or that physical sign. So often a breath will help. I know the work of Jefferson Fisher is incredible when it comes to finding ways to not feel awkward, but taking that pause during a difficult conversation, because setting a boundary is going to be a difficult conversation that you're going to start practicing having. And then eventually, I promise, it's no effort. It'll just come as a natural thing. But first, like regulate, and the breath is a good place to go if you feel awkward. Like for me, sometimes I was just buying myself time. I was saying like, that doesn't feel quite right. Let me think about that. I'll get back to you tomorrow, or whatever works for you. But just take that pause by regulating, or regulate by taking a pause. Then
Mm-hmm.
acknowledge. So acknowledge what's going on. Okay, so what are those feelings? What are they related to? Does this belong to this situation? Is this person triggering me because of something that happened to me in the past? Or is this really like what's happening? So just acknowledge something's happening. What is it? Get curious about it. Then you can connect, go back to the person, or if you take a breath or whatever, then you can, within that moment, reconnect with the person and just explain what's going on, like put some words to what's happening for you. And so there are some words, there are some script, like for example, the Kyla that I've mentioned earlier, for her was like when she was connecting, she was saying, "Oh, that doesn't work for me." And you know what? That's acceptable as an answer, like believe it or not. Like, it is possible to say that if it's connected with explaining what's going on for you. And then keep the boundary. Just name your need. What is it that I need? This doesn't work for me. I need blah, blah, blah. Like just be able to name it. So it sounds like keep the boundary is the hardest thing to do, but I promise you, if you go through all that track, that the keep boundary will just become like a matter of fact, like just an obvious thing to do when you get to that point. So yeah.
Yeah, and
How does that, oh, sorry,
also, no, that's
it's
a
jumping the gun.
we're good. We're at 12:34. I mean, so we're good. We've been um, so just remember that that is a process. You have to train. It's like a muscle. So
Yeah.
you have to don't be so hard on yourself, because when the trigger comes in, I mean, your body and then the emotion comes in a second. And sometimes you won't be able to take that pause because you're wired to react. And I was talking about respond instead of react. This is the best thing ever to do. Like when your body talks to you, if you're able to step back and say, oh, something is happening, and this will come, as you practice. The first time you're going to go, oh my god, I didn't go, I just went through. And then you start, a conversation when you're emotionally triggered, and it doesn't really go well in that space. And I also want to mention that the trigger always talks about you,
Yeah.
in the sense that if you are triggered, it's because there's something that needs to be acknowledged, needs to be looked at, needs to be present within yourself, that has not been solved. It's connected to some wounding, whatever it is. So this is a perfect example of being conscious, being present to your emotions and what this emotion is related to, And when you start to have a conversation in that space after you've looked at yourself, had compassion for yourself, then you can go back to the other person and have a real conversation, more authentic, and you had time to breathe and sleep and in a more, in a space when you can have those more meaningful conversations. So that's a very, very powerful tool for you to use in your, professional or personal life, most probably as well.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and to that last point, I think this is the power of connection because not only this framework helps you with boundaries, but it helps you connect and create those meaningful connections and be in a vulnerable position with the person you're talking to, but on a more connecting level. I don't know, it's hard to
Mm-hmm.
explain, but if you allow yourself to go back and explain and have those meaningful conversations, then that brings that relationship to another level. And that's like a double win.
Mm-hmm. Totally, totally.
Okay, so now let's hear from you. How does that track land for you? So, what could you start implementing or just adjust either in your leadership or your personal life? Again, look at this um, barcode. No, QR code. I always say barcode. QR code, and then just you can just enter one word, a sentence. Earlier, I think Marisol, you were saying voicing your needs is a big one, so that goes really well with the track framework. What does that do?
Oh.
Honor my boundaries. Yeah. Recognize what those boundaries are. This is a lot of the work that I do, I will say with a lot of clients is to name the needs and then find a way to protect the boundaries. And often people are just not even clear on what they need. And so
Mm-hmm.
I would invite you, if honoring your boundaries is something that you want to work on, uh, definitely understand your needs and what needs to be preserved. Where are the boundaries? See the boundaries as a bit of a fence. Um, yeah, keep boundaries.
Keep
All right.
boundaries.
Yeah, thank
and
you.
and it can help you listen to
And
oh
respect what it oh yeah, listen to my
yes.
soul and respect what it informs me. Yeah, yeah. Oh, I have goosebumps. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. And
And
that's
you
what
could,
Julie was saying, right? Like
yeah.
listen to your
Hmm.
soul, meaning like just listen to what your body's telling you. It's sending
Hmm.
you messages, right?
Connected to your heart. And also because I remember when I started having a coach and she asked me, what are your needs? I was like, what do you mean?
Right.
What do you mean? What are my what? I have
Yeah, yeah.
needs? Oh, I was like what? I had never asked myself this.
Yeah.
So I mean, I did, but not to an extent. So doing a list of your personal needs is can also help you a lot of, okay, what is important for me,
Yeah.
like professionally, personally, romantically, in friendship, just like really dissecate the different parts of your life, and just writing down is also powerful because it feels like sometimes you don't have a clarity, and it's when you write things down. In a way, it works for me. When I write things down, I'm like, okay, right, there's things
It
that
becomes more
flows.
real.
And
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Okay, do we have more participants? No. Okay, I will move on for the sake of time. And
Thank you
just
so
to,
much.
yeah, no, thank you for participating. Why is this not working? Okay. What if this webinar was something interesting for you? We're slowly wrapping this up, but if you want to know what's the upcoming events that we're going to host, you can just scan this barcode, oh, this QR code, sorry, to sign up to the newsletter. So you'll have some tips and tricks, and this is like a non-salesy, non-pushy, none of this. We're really about providing value, and this newsletter is really for you to elevate your leadership. And so if that's in any interest, plus you'll be aware of future events that will be coming on. So I will, speaking about future event, we have this webinar next week. It's organized by the ICBA, which is in the construction industry, but we are hosting. So they organizing, we're hosting. And it will be Bea. So today you had Jen and Julie. Next week is Bea on Thursday. And then the QR code is here. It will take you to the ICBA website. So don't worry, it's not a Grow Better Together thing, but it is in collaboration. So feel free to do that. And this is really to understand, like we talked about recognizing what your body's saying. This goes like a whole step further, as in using your body to be able to reset and have more difficult conversations, prevent burnout, prevent anxiety and all of that when you at work, and just be able to, again, it's all in service of elevating your leadership, but also yourself in your personal life. So feel free to
Hmm.
sign up here if you want to join Bea. I'll be watching because I love to have these kind of tips myself. I think I'm
Yes.
pretty good in the mindfulness practice, but I guess always more knowledge is always better. So please join
And
us.
our bodies are so intelligent.
Yeah,
Like when we
exactly.
start listening and reading the signs and going with it, it's just like it's very powerful, very,
Yeah,
very helpful.
for sure. Yeah. So it's at 11 Pacific time and 2 p.m. Eastern time next Thursday. So there we go. So if you want to get in touch with us, if you have any questions or interested, any comments, any feedback, please, these are our contact details. Again, the QR code here will take us to our contact page. And then we are almost at the time, but we have a Q&A for if you have any questions. I know we're 1 minute away from the end, so you might have jumped off already, but if you have any questions, now is the time to add them in the Q&A in the chat. Any, is there a Q&A? I can't see it. Yeah, Q&A.
Yeah.
Okay. There was no open question. You can also pop it in the chat, or we can
Hmm.
say if there's none, then I will just really thank you so much for participating, for joining us, and we wish you really all the best with practicing this track
Yes.
framework. And let us
Yes.
know how you go. We'd love to have your feedback.
Yeah, and thank you for attending. It's always great to be able to share tips and tools for you guys and to achieve a more authentic leadership because this is really something that is dear to both of our hearts. And we hope that there was some pearls that you can take with you from this webinar and use in the real world. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank you,
so much, everyone.
Marisa.
Have a great rest of your week. Bye.
Bye.